Robots Radio presents
Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast.
Hey, I can look at myself naked.
Are you stoned or something?
They tried stoning me, my dear. It did not work.
He likes to create his own sauce.
Well, did you sleep with a man who also slept with Mom and Grandma Catherine?
What? You slept with Dad?
All right, now which one of you sardines call this meat?
Whatever, Major Loser.
Let the party begin!
Hello, and welcome to Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast, the podcast that seems unassuming at first, but then becomes very, very dark later on. That's Simone LaRue.
And that's Chad Ekowitz with a stunning opener.
We come alive in Halloween times
We
more
really do.
than any time in the rest of the year. I am so excited after this period is over to see sort of our listenership and how it like relates to us being super enthusiastic at Halloween and then dropping off again until Christmas when we're pretty equally as enthusiastic.
Yeah. Christmas and Halloween are pretty much the best times of year for us.
Exactly. And I would love to see like our viewership directly correspond to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we would have to have the talk of, okay, should we bring that kind of energy throughout the year? And I know the answer for both of us would just be no.
No, I don't have that energy throughout the year.
Yeah, are you crazy? Like, that's why we have this rest period between October and Christmas.
Thank
because
God.
Good Lord, I mean, you have set up so much this year. It's, well, for Spooktober, it's been insane.
And I mean, we've got some exciting stuff planned for Christmas too, which is going to be a blast.
Yes. We're not going to tell you now.
No.
We want to keep you guessing. You know, we're still in October. You got to respect the
You
season.
still got some surprises coming your way.
Oh, yeah. But this is going to be a good for podcasting. Nothing else. And speaking of good years for podcasting and nothing else, what were we doing this week, Simone?
Hey!
Hey!
So this week is a bit of a special treat just for Chad and me. Let's be honest. It's not like I'm suffering through it. We are doing a movie that I think showed a pivotal moment in our friendship, which was Unfriended. And when we first watched Unfriended, we finished an entire bottle of tequila between the two of us. And I think we went in thinking like, oh, it's going to be such a bad movie. And we watched it and like, we were hammered. So we're like, oh, this movie sucks. But like, it doesn't. It actually scores too high for us to technically do it on the podcast. But it's also our podcast, so we can do whatever the fuck we want. And so this episode is just a celebration of the Unfriended franchise. We are just gonna rave and rant about it, like what he did with the Descendants parade.
Exactly. And would you say that we would rave to the grave, Simone?
I would not, actually. I distinctly wouldn't.
Yes, I am so excited that we are doing this week. I mean, these two movies are just quintessentially beautiful horror films, I think. And I mean, we'll talk about it as we go in, but and I've said this for years. I wrote an article about it. Just the fact that horror movies are so common and it's such like a predictable script that you have to find new and interesting ways to portray your story. And this movie is one of those sort of, you know, pioneering films that just completely changed the genre, and it is incredible to watch. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a medium, like found footage, screen recording things are a tough medium. There's a lot that you can't show. There's a lot that you can't do. But I think they really work well with it, and they use it to their advantage to build up some really tense moments.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the beauty of sort of found footage as well, is because they've got no peripheral vision. Yeah. You're so unaware of your surroundings, and that is really unsettling.
Totally.
And I mean, if it wasn't such a podcast staple, I think you and I would just have a horror movie podcast.
Yeah.
But you know, we chose another genre that's just oversaturated. So fuck it.
Oh, there we go. Well, also, I mean, I know that like sort of towards the end of each Spooktober, you and I both lose energy around horror movies a bit. Like it's a bummer. I watched the two Unfriendeds like back to back, and afterwards I was like, oh boy, I've
got another 2 weeks of this shit.
I need a break.
Yeah, it's tough. And I mean, yeah, staying with one genre is really tough, but you know what? It's worth it. And it's well, I think you've done the right thing this week, like this month. You've really set us up well. Like we had some giant James Wan to start us off, and now we're going into two movies that actually did really well, just so we can like sort of refresh
Bit of
ourselves.
a palate cleanser.
Exactly. So we can keep going through this. So you've really done an excellent job. I mean, this is all Simone, listeners. Like this is her baby this month.
Listen, you guys, when we get to the finale, that's going to be all Chad, and it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, Simone was busy fucking around while Chad was creating a masterpiece.
We work well together.
Yeah.
I think the reason we work so well together as well is we won't accept any of the praise. It's just like, nah, it was
I
the
could
other
never.
person.
I couldn't possibly.
No ways.
No, you.
It was so funny this week. Simone messaged me separately because we needed to record something special separately, and she was like, don't be British about this if you can't do it. And it just made my life. It is exactly what we do.
Especially Chad, who hates confrontation so much.
Can't do it. So speaking of which, shall we get into this?
Yes,
shall I tell you
it.
about Unfriended 1?
First of all though, Chad, what are you drinking?
Oh, of course. I don't want to forget about that. So one of my delightful students bought me a crate of beer for my birthday.
Lovely.
What a babe. What a lush. He watches the YouTube video. So hi, Alex.
Oh,
Thank you
hi,
very
Alex.
much. So he's sponsoring this week's beer. It's a Ringwood Boondoggle. It is a spectacular beer. I will get this if I'm in a pub here. It's kind of like the staple sort of unique indie beers that they always have on tap. So like it's the one that's just always recurring. And it's just really, really tasty. It's such a nice beer.
Oh.
Yeah. And what are you drinking?
I am drinking an old favorite of mine, what used to be my fancy beverage in university. Bit of a throwback. It's a spiced golden Coke.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that was my little
Lovely.
splurge if I was feeling like a classy lady.
Beginning of the month, still got money in the bank.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm having a lovely spiced golden Coke.
Is it making you reminisce? Are you feeling young
It's so
again?
delicious is the problem. It tastes like vanilla Coke and it's delightful.
Those drinks are dangerous. It's the same with and the next thing you know, you're on the floor. Yeah.
Anything that tastes like juice is a problem.
Yeah, dangerous territory. Okay, let's talk about Unfriended. I'm so ready. This film takes place entirely on the MacBook screen. The viewer sees nothing else but what appears on the screen throughout the duration of the movie. The owner of said MacBook is a teenager named Blair, played by Shelley Henning. The movie opens with her looking at old pictures of her friend Laura, played by Heather Sutherland. Unfortunately, exactly 1 year ago this night, Laura killed herself after suffering some really intense bullying. At a party one night, more than a year ago, Laura got super drunk and ended up passing out and shitting her pants. Someone took a video of this, uploaded it to YouTube, and entitled the video, "Kill Yourself, Laura." Basically, back to the present, and Blair gets a Skype call from her boyfriend, Mitch, played by Moses Storm. Also, best name of all time, Moses Storm. It's almost as good as Armie Hammer, right?
Yeah. A little biblical. That's fun.
I know. They chat for a little bit, and things start to get really sexy. Blair undresses for Mitch, talking dirty to each other, when suddenly their friend's Skype called them. They try to ignore it, but for some reason, the call connects automatically, and they are caught in the act. When they meet, we then meet her friends. You have Jess, played by Renee Olstead, who is the fun, lively girl who her friends think is a slut. Then you have Adam, played by Will Peltz, who is this crazy rich dude and a bit of an asshole. And lastly, you have Ken, played by Jacob Wisocki, who is the fat, funny one. They all banter for a bit, and then things start to get a little weird. Blair received a private message from Laura's Facebook account. Obviously, someone hacked her because Laura is dead. She tells Mitch, and they try to get Laura's account memorialized, but for some reason, it just isn't working. On top of that, there's some stalker on the group Skype call who just won't leave them alone. They try to kick the person from the call, but it just won't work. And every time they leave and come back on a fresh call, the stalker is back. As the film develops, we learn that the Skype stalker is actually Laura, or at least someone using Laura's account. That's when Mitch sends Blair a private message saying that you should never answer messages from the dead because it could be their ghosts coming back for retribution. Unfortunately, it's too late for the gang because they've all interacted with this stalker person. Later, as they're trying to figure this all out, their friend Val, played by Courtney Halverson, joins the call. That's when the Skype stalker reveals herself to be Laura, or rather, Laura's ghost. And she's come back to get the truth out of everyone. Laura starts messing with everyone, revealing their deepest, darkest secrets, such as the fact that Jess spread a rumor saying Blair had an eating disorder, and that Blair lost her virginity to Adam when she said she was saving herself for Mitch. Then Laura starts killing the teenagers. She somehow is able to get to the kids to kill themselves through their computers, and they die in the most horrific ways. At the end of the film, when only Blair and Mitch are left, Laura asks them who uploaded the video. Blair sells out Mitch, saying that he did it. Mitch therefore kills himself. That's when Laura reveals that she knew who uploaded the video the whole time, and it was Blair. We then see Laura in Blair's room for the final killing blow. The end.
The end. And we agreed we're not going to do cliffhangers for this because it's such like a weird like visual medium. It doesn't really.
It would be. It doesn't translate. So we can move straight on to the conversations. And I think the best place to start is how good is this film?
It is fantastic. I think it was really smart of them to understand that they were working with a new medium, so they used a lot of familiar horror tropes so that people would be comfortable with where they were in it. You know, there's all these teenagers who did something horrible a year ago and share a dark secret. There's the slutty one, there's the virgin one, there's the rich asshole one, there's the chubby one. I think that was really effective to just ease people into a medium that honestly is really a little overwhelming at first. Like when you first start, you're like trying to look at everything and trying to catch any clues and stuff. And you sort of settle into it a bit. And it's less overwhelming when you're like, okay, like I understand what's happening here.
Yeah, exactly. And because it is sort of the first of its kind as well, it adds to the overwhelmingness of it because you're like, okay, I don't fully understand how I'm supposed to react to it. I think that's what makes it different from other found footage, like traditional found footage films like the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Even though you're got the camera's view and it's live and everything will live, you still are sort of guided through that camera lens. You are there. It's like someone's holding your head. Where this, it's sort of just like, okay, this is a screen. The only thing that gives you an indication of where to look is the pointer, which does come in handy because often they'll like highlight things or circle it, but they make it look really natural. It's not something like, look at this thing, pointer, pointer, pointer. It's more like, I'm highlighting this because this is what I really want to stand out. And it's really cool.
I think they do a good job of like, it really does look like someone using a computer. Like they have all these windows open, and sometimes when they're typing, they like backspace a bit because they did a typo or whatever. And even as Blair starts to panic more, she like sends messages with typos because she doesn't like, realize, which was very cool. Like, and that's again just like a really interesting use of the medium, like that a normal movie can't really show a character's panic in that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's ingenious how they do all those little things, and like it's so, I can imagine from an actor's point of view, it's so difficult to do this and to do it well. You know, especially from like a point of view of, all right, so we're seeing you type and you hear the clack, 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 and then you don't want to say that. So you backspace and then you wait being there where we type something, we don't really want to send it. So we change our minds. And to have that translated where you're not seeing the person actually sort of typing out or like pausing and looking at their face and wondering, it's just like the connections that are made because you're a human being. It's fantastically done.
Definitely. I read somewhere that this movie made back like 65 times its original budget. I mean, obviously the budget wasn't that high. Like it was like some gore effects and that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's, I was thinking about how you could make it the other day, like while we were watching it, because I mean, I've got a MacBook here and that was, I think, very interesting for me because I've had a MacBook for years. I love the Mac product. Well, this Apple product. I hate all other Apple products. But seeing a movie shot from what would be my traditional desktop was really unnerving as well. Oh, don't do that. Simone's video has just gone off and I don't like
Sorry,
that.
no, it's because my
Don't-
internet connection is bad. It's not because I'm trying to prank you or anything.
You say that, but I swear to God, if you make me jump, I'm going to be
Next time
so
it goes
mad
off,
at you.
I'm just going to scream.
Oh, I hate you so much. Don't do this to me. Oh, I lost my train of thought because I was immediately terrified. I'm really surprised. Like, I'm really surprised, sort of, at like Facebook and those kind of things wanting to be part of this.
Yeah.
But I guess like because yeah, it's using their product to be like,
Yeah.
this thing is evil and it's using you. But it was just really fun how they were using products like that instead of like Bing and Yahoo.
Yeah.
You know, the by open, and they were playing music through it, and Skype, and yeah, it was really, really cool to just, you know, it connected with you because this is how we would do our computers and how
Oh
we
my
would run
God,
it.
I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I reasonably trust you.
Help me, Chad. Ah.
No, I'm just waiting for like your mum to like appear behind you or something, and then the camera to go off again.
There are
The
some
devil.
creepy ass dolls in the closet behind me, actually. But
Oh,
it is
really?
firmly locked while I am here.
I think that's fair. Was that one of the sort of preconditions for you coming back home, that you would not see a single doll?
To be fair, my mom never wants to see them either, so they've just been in boxes for a while.
Oh, that's fine. You can give them to your children one day as like a really, really creepy present.
Or I could not traumatize them.
I think that's probably a better
Yeah,
way
I
to
think
do
that's fair.
it. How stressful was Blair's desktop though? Like, I don't know how you felt about it, but she didn't have tabs in an organized way.
No.
Her
Her
desktop
whole like
icons
little
were...
bookmark bar at the top, like, whew.
I think that was probably the scariest thing in this movie.
It was definitely up there.
Yeah.
What was your like favorite part? Like, what for you was like the tensest moment?
Ooh, I think, okay, for me, those two things are very different. My favorite part of the movie was definitely that bit where the advert came across the screen of like girls in your area, and Blair was part of that. That was, for me, it was so subtly done and so beautifully done that I absolutely adored that part. That was my favorite bit, seeing that. And then I think the most tense bit, the most scary bit for me was the killing of Val.
Oh yeah, where
Camera
she's
with, like,
just sitting
the bleach thing off, and they're like, oh, she's frozen, and then the phone comes into view, and then
so good.
it's so good, and the police coming in and like saying, oh, it was a 515, and she, like, Blair's looking up on her machine and she's trying to find it, and oh, it was so good. What is your favorite part and your most tense moment? What
I think
was that
my
for you?
favorite part, you're right, it's two different things. I don't know why I asked you. My favorite part is when the like random accounts camera turns on and it like looks like some random scene, and like the moment everyone realizes that it's in Ken's house.
Yes.
And everyone just goes quiet. Like no one knows what to say or what to do. They're all just like sitting there watch. It's so good. Like, because I mean, what?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And then I think probably for me, like the tensest moment was that bit where it sends like it prints out notes at Adam's printer and Blair's printer, and the notes essentially say like, if you show this note to Mitch, then Mitch will die, or if you show this note to Mitch, then Adam dies or Blair dies or whatever. So it's like Mitch is having a bit of a breakdown, and it's just great acting for all of them, like all of them screaming at the camera and like this crazy tension being built up. I thought that was, I mean, just fantastic on the actors' parts.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. And yeah, like I think that's one of the great things about this movie as well, is in terms of what happens to what happens next, like as they go along. It's such a great story in just how it's written. Like
Yeah.
as a very foundational thing, it's written really, really well.
Yeah.
And that just builds on everything else. I mean, yes, it's from a screenshot, but the gimmick doesn't make the movie ride. The gimmick
Yeah.
only adds to the overall
Yeah.
feeling of the film, which is
Especially,
really, really cool.
I think it really captures, you know, it's all of these people going through this very scary shared experience, but ultimately they're alone. Like they're alone sitting in front of a screen,
Yeah.
and like the whole group knows what's happening, but no one can help anyone else. No one can
Exactly.
do anything. Like you just have to watch, which I think was
Yeah.
captured very, very well.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about this before, just from your situation. For those of you who don't watch the YouTube videos, generally Simone, when she used to record, had a cupboard behind her that some days the door would be open, some days the door would be closed, and it was always very dark. And I just had to watch from 30,000 miles away, and if anything came out of that cupboard, there was absolutely nothing I could do.
Yeah.
And that's always very, very scary. And like you said, that is what this movie does. It's the fact that you are so helpless in the whole thing. And I mean that bit where she goes on that random chat wheel and finds someone to like call the police.
Yeah,
that is
was
the
really
only thing
cool.
you can do. It was very, very cool. Yeah. Is there anything that like you didn't like, or anything? Yeah, let's say didn't like, because I won't say change, because obviously we'll go into that next.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you didn't particularly like?
I mean, obviously the main thing I found like a little unrealistic. And to be fair, like this is just the medium. Like this is just something that you have to make work. But like all of these friends Skyping each other after school randomly, like, oh yeah, it's our after school Skype chat when we just spent the whole day together instead of just texting each other like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a little contrived, but I get it. They had to make it happen. And, you know, obviously they're trying to appeal to a wider audience, so they have to do that little exposition-y dialogue of, oh, what's a troll? Like a bunch of high schoolers wouldn't know what a troll is.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, that was pure exposition for older people who are like, how are they doing this? How are they doing a group Skype? I don't understand this.
Yeah, but, you know, that's just the nature of it. And what about you? What did you find difficult or not like?
I just think it's like, it's not so much, I think it's just, obviously you need the film to continue, but you just close Skype. You don't then go back onto the call afterwards. Like, what is so unbelievably desperate that you need to say to each other that you couldn't do it on a WhatsApp group message or, through Facebook? Like if you and I had a problem with our Zoom meeting, like if some stalker kept coming onto our Zoom meeting, we would switch to Discord, or we would switch to Facebook Live, or we would go back to Skype. We wouldn't just keep going, we wouldn't just leave and then keep coming back and then and these kids clearly are smart and they know the tech. So it's weird that they would do that. If they had, I think it would have improved in that way. And this isn't my favorite scene that could have saved it, so it would have been fine. It would have been improved if they had tried to do that. So like if they'd gone Skype and then try to switch to Facebook Live, Facebook video, Facebook chat, or whatever it's called, and it hadn't worked. Then that makes more sense to me.
But I guess this was also 2014 when like the only video chat that anyone really knew was Skype and maybe FaceTime.
Yeah, no, you have a good point. Yeah, you do have a good point. But yeah, I think that's the only thing that I didn't particularly like. Okay, so let's move on then. Let's go to scenes that could have saved it. Do you have a scene that could have saved it for this?
I'm not crazy about the supernatural element of it. I thought they really pushed that through. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like we're sending the article about this exact phenomena and how common it is. Like, okay. And I think at the beginning they mentioned that Blair had a brother that was kind of weird.
I
like
missed
very
that completely.
briefly. Not Blair. Like
Laura.
Laura, yeah. Laura had a brother, and they're like, "Oh, could the brother be doing this?" And they're like, "No, he wasn't that weird." But it would kind of be interesting if maybe the brother had found the extended video that had Blair's face in it and decided to take revenge, and he was a super hacker or some shit. And he was the one like hunting down the kids one by one or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about the supernatural element in this one. I'm not the whole like melding of like, oh, the ghost is in the tech, like just doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for you. Wow, okay, because I mean, I think we chose the right ones to do this week anyway, because I much prefer the supernatural element to the hacker element. Don't get me wrong, loved Unfriended too, but yeah, I much preferred this. I agree with you completely. I think that article really like explaining shit was just a bit like, that was a bit poor. If they had just been like, holy fuck, I don't understand what's going on, maybe it's a ghost. Okay, we're gonna go on the assumption that this is a ghost. Then I could have gotten more on board. But I do love, you know, ghosts can now intersect the technology and they can press the buttons from inside the machine. I love that shit. Yeah,
totally.
That's my vibe. Yeah.
And I don't think they should have shown Blair or Laura at the end, like closing the laptop. I think that was also a little, I honestly think the best thing would have been to leave Blair to like live with what's happened and the fact that everyone knows now.
You've genuinely just said my scene that could have saved it.
Oh,
that is
I'm so
exactly
sorry.
Right. No, that's why we're so in sync. This is why we do this podcast together. Boom, on the horror genre together. Yeah, that is my scene that could have saved it. Just, I completely agree with you. I think it really fucked with the whole thing and it like really let the whole thing down that Laura was in Blair's room at the end. Like, okay, so does that mean that she was physically in the other people's houses as well and that's how they died? Like, what's the crossover there? Leave her alive with her consequences and then maybe she kills herself. Not saying that that's the retribution she deserves. Not at all. Please, if you are struggling with stuff, there are people who can help you. We will put links down in the description below. But, you know, that kind of retribution, just be cool, now I'm in your room and I'm going to murder you.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. And then I immediately thought maybe we're just a bit too desensitized to horror because that's what we watch all the time.
I mean, but also that's always the thing. Like the moment you show the monster, it becomes like 90% less scary.
Exactly. It's the unknown. That's why Stephen King does so well, because it's just not known.
This ghost in the wires.
And would you watch it again?
Yeah, totally. It's so fun. It's such a great, like, I mean, I was trying to watch it while I worked and it was a real struggle because like it's so tense and you're focusing the whole time and like you're trying to catch clues and it's great. It's just so well done. It's a great example of what that medium can be. Like, highly recommend people watch it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a reason it did well on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's the reason why we shouldn't traditionally do this movie, because it is just so good and there's just so many great elements to this film. And if you haven't seen it yet and you are a fan of the horror genre, you are missing out big time. Definitely. It's so worth it. Yeah. Have you seen anything else doing the same kind of medium apart from Unfriended too?
No, I don't think I have. I know Searching did it, but I haven't watched that yet. How does Searching compare, do you think?
It doesn't do a good job, in my opinion. Okay. You know, it's fine, but I think when you see this film and then obviously you kind of like, okay, well, you try to do the same thing and you failed. They did a good job if you haven't seen Unfriended or Unfriended 2, but they do a bad job if you have. Just because, like, I guess it plays to what they were trying to do, but often it was a case of, oh, you're seeing it from the screen, but I've just, you know, coincidentally left FaceTime open so you can now see the video feed even though I'm not calling anyone. And that's just really lazy. That's really lazy in my opinion. The film itself is pretty good. It's very interesting, but surprisingly, who did it well was Modern Family.
Modern Family did a great job with that. I do remember seeing that episode.
Yeah, they nailed it. They did a really good job, which is why, I mean, they're an Emmy award-winning show. But,
what a great show.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, go out and watch Queriously. Well worth your time. Simone.
I'm sorry.
Talk me through Unfriended 2. Because this is your baby now.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, let me tell you all about it. So, like the first Unfriended, this movie follows a group of friends who are in a group Skype call. These are more adults out of their college years, but they're all friends from college who do a group game night once a week. Our main character and the person whose screen we're watching is Matthias, played by Colin Waddell. He occasionally chats to his girlfriend Amaya, played by Stephanie Nogueras. And then he's chatting to Nari and Serena, played by Betty Gabriel and Rebecca Rittenhouse. The two of them announce that they're engaged while on the call, and that's really sweet. He also has his friend Damon in the UK, played by Andrew Leese. And they're, oh no, there's two more. Their conspiracy theorist YouTuber friend AJ, played by Connor Del Rio, and their DJ friend Lex, played by Savira Windiani. So, Matthias is on a new laptop. He says that he got it secondhand, but it later turns out that he stole it from a lost and found at an internet cafe. We see him as he opens up the laptop for the first time and starts logging into all of his various accounts. He sees that the last owner was someone named Nora C. the Fourth, and works his way through kind of logging her out of everything. While he's doing that, he Skypes with his girlfriend Amaya, who is deaf, and he has made a program to help him understand her better, or to help her understand him better. It translates speech into sign language. She's upset because he could maybe just learn sign language. And basically, while he's trying to communicate with her, he starts the group call with the rest of his friends. While he's in the group chat, he starts getting messages on Nora C's Facebook page from a bunch of random people, and eventually from someone named Erica, who claims to be Nora's best friend and accuses Matthias of stealing the laptop. Matthias says, you know what, fair enough, I did steal the laptop, and says that he's going to go to the place where he found it and return it. However, while he's snooping around the laptop, he finds an enormous file. With his friend Damon's help, he breaks into the file, spots something called the River, and a bunch of snuff films that are really, really horrible. His friends, who he's sharing the screen with at the time, all decide that they need to do something immediately. They also realize that Nora the Fourth Nora C., is Charon backwards. And Charon is a code word. It's the ferryman of the dead. And there's actually a whole organization of Charons, and their main thing is to just take requests and make horrible snuff films. They're a massive organization. Charon 4 realizes that Matthias is not returning the laptop like he should, and makes a threat to Amara's life. It becomes clear that he will follow Amaya back. Amara.
Amaya, I think you're right.
Sorry. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll follow Amaya back to Matthias's apartment, get the laptop, and they'll go their separate ways. However, Matthias decides that he wants to save the one girl who he knows is kidnapped but hasn't been killed yet, Erica Dunn, played by Alexa Mansour. He takes a bunch of money out of Charon's Bitcoin account and says that Charon will get the money back once he releases Erica Dunn. This is where he starts pissing people off. The rest of the Charon organization realizes that Matthias has stolen the laptop, or that Charon 4 has been compromised, and they start going after all of Matthias's friends. They are killed in various ways because these are an elite group of hackers who are able to discover people's locations fairly easily. Things get worse and worse. Matthias decides, okay, fuck it, he's going to take the laptop and meet Amaya at the subway station, give them the thing, and try and make a break for it. Everything goes horribly wrong. Everyone dies. And it turns out that actually what we thought happened wasn't that at all. The laptop was bait for an elaborate audience that likes to play mind games with unsuspecting people. And people have been voting and making bets on the various things that were going to happen throughout the night. The final vote is whether Matthias gets to live, gets a resounding no, he gets hit by a truck, and we see that thousands and thousands of people were watching the live broadcast of quote unquote game night. The end.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So obviously, this one didn't have the supernatural element to it.
No.
So you enjoyed this more, I'm taking it.
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was scarier, and oh my God. I can only apologize to our YouTube watchers where my camera just keeps going off, and I could not tell you why. Okay. Today of all days. I think this was so much scarier because all of this is stuff that happens. We know that on the dark web, people do commission really horrible shit. We know that tons of people go missing every year and we don't know where they are, whether they're lost to human trafficking, whether they end up in situations like this. And we know awful people are out there. And that's not the scary thing, though. The scary thing is how easy it actually is to find you online. Like they show a couple times, I think with the first murder of Lex, they show exactly how they use the background of one of her innocent pictures to go to a student alumni page and find her address. It's really, really straightforward stuff like that. And I think you just realize like the internet is a big place and it's scary if the wrong person sets their sights on you. And I think the other thing that makes it scary is none of these people are bad people. Like Matthias steals a laptop that he shouldn't have. And that's about it. Like for the most part, they're just like lovely people who are trying to like live their lives and get married and have a game night. And like this awful shit happens to them for no reason, for entertainment, and they all die.
Yeah, no, it is really scary, like because of how realistic it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, for the listeners who sort of don't completely understand like how crazy the dark web is, like 98% of the internet is dark web. The 2% that you see is still mainstream web. Like even the deepest, darkest, like depraved shit that you see is not dark web. To get onto the dark web, you need a special browser because you cannot be tracked on the dark web. That's the point of the dark web. That's why it's called the dark web. So you need special programs and things like that. Deleting your cookies mode, that's not going to help you stay safe and anonymous. Using a VPN, it's not enough to keep you safe and anonymous.
That being said, we'd like to talk about one of our sponsors, Nordvpn. Protect your privacy and keep yourself a little bit safer by clicking the code below to get a discount on Nordvpn.
Exactly. Like VPN,
this is all an elaborate ad.
Yeah, we set this up for that specific ad, and now we can end the episode. Once you go and buy some Nordvpn, we get a little bit of a kickback, guys. We really appreciate it. Link down below in the comment section. Thingy majig. Beautiful work. Cross promotion there, Simone. I loved it. But yeah, seriously, like you don't have to worry really about the dark web, but just do understand that your privacy is no longer your privacy anymore. Like everything you could do can be traced back to you, and it's very, very, very scary. And this movie highlights that, which is very interesting. The first time I watched this, I hated this film. Purely, I know, purely because it ain't nothing but a heartbreak. Did you get the joke?
Ain't nothing
or
but
did
a
it
heartbreak.
not land because it was terrible?
I missed the nuance of that. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. You said tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. That was a bad joke anyway. If you have to explain it, it dies. It's fine. That's a judge in the UK once had to explain the difference between like a serious comment and a joke. And he said, a joke is very much like a frog. Once you have to dissect it, it dies. And I think that's a great way to explain what a joke is. Yeah. I didn't like this movie because it was so different from the first one.
Yeah, very different.
Real. Yeah, and immediately my brain was just like, no, this isn't supernatural. I hate it. I was hoping for a sequel kind of vibe. Meh. But watching it again now, watching it for the second time, I was like, holy shit, this is very, very clever.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like it's so much more meticulous than the first one, even though the first one is really well executed.
Yeah. I know that originally they were actually going to do a sequel type vibe, and they were going to have Laura's ghost or Blair's ghost go after college students.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made
like
a ton
that.
of sense. And I'm really glad that they didn't go that direction. I'm really glad they sat down and they were like, what's scary about the internet? And the answer was everything.
Yeah, exactly. And they nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially the fact the one guy got swatted.
Yeah. How real was that?
That is a very internet specific way of killing someone.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, when you see it like about to play the shotgun sound, like what a great moment of tension.
It's so good. And I think that was such a beautiful thing as well, because I mean, because we watch films so often, we can spot a Chekhov's gun a mile away, like so
and it
easily.
was kind of a Chekhov's gun.
It really was, but I didn't see it when he was like, oh, check out my new speakers. I wasn't like, that's going to be used later for something. I was completely in the dark, and it was brilliantly done.
So well done.
Beautifully done.
Yeah.
And I also think it also speaks to our more modern time of police just opening fire, willy-nilly, shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Which was like a really good commentary on sort of modern society, I guess.
And maybe how police are asked to do too much, and it's fine, we won't.
Yeah, we're not going to go down a political route, but
we're just having a good time.
What did you think of the characters in comparison to like the first movie and like the interaction and friendships and everything?
I mean, obviously, I think they put a lot more effort into this one. Like, there was quite a rich character history between all the friends, and they showed it off pretty well. Like, we know that Nari and Serena are together, but Nari used to date AJ, and he seems pretty cool with it, if not a little blasé about the fact that Nari has like a difficult relationship with her parents because she's gay, and we know that Serena's mom is sick from cancer, and we know like it's all these like little tiny comments that add up to give you this rich, like, these are friends, these are people who have known each other for a long time. I thought the relationship with Matthias and Amaya was really beautifully done, actually. And the actress, she actually is deaf.
Oh, I was about to say, oh, great, but that's not the way I meant it. But it's
But it was cool that they, included someone who was disabled or is disabled actually, and not someone pretending to be. And the fact that she was speaking sign language super fluently, and it was so well done. I really liked that part.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, their fight is such a valid thing. I mean, it's really sweet of him to create this program that will help him, speak to her better. But like, her argument is so well done. And I think that's what makes a horror movie really good, is the sort of background relationships and the background feelings of everyone. I'm not sort of discrediting the first one in the fact that a lot of their problems were just teenage bullshit. Yeah. Because that added to the drama of the first one. It was time appropriate. But yeah, you have like a lot more because these kids are older, these guys are older. Like, you have these like really rich relationships, it's very much like you and me. I'm overseas, but this is how we can keep our friendship alive. Yeah. And it was just really nice to see sort of that vibe and the recognition of how complicated life has become now. Yeah. And the fact like, they want to hang out. There's a legitimate reason for them to be having this call. Yeah. Rather than just like pissing about like kids after school. Yeah. And I think that adds to it. It's like, oh, okay, there's a reason we're on this call.
Yeah, it's all just friends, like trying to stay in touch.
Yeah, which was really cool.
And I think also what makes it kind of harrowing is like throughout the call, they all have these very vulnerable moments, and then you find out at the end that like thousands and thousands of people were watching them go through like these little moments that you would only really share with your close friends. And it's just like a whole extra layer of invasion that makes it so good.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know who's watching half the time, which is very, very scary. Very scary.
Now, you might be interested to know that there are actually 4 alternate endings to this movie.
Ways. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay. Do you know them?
Yeah. I looked it up on the trivia. So there's one where Matthias actually gets buried alive in the park where Amaya is supposed to meet him, and she can't hear him.
Because she's deaf. That's so cool.
Because she's deaf, so she just walks past, and it's like this weird tragic thing. I love that. There's another ending where the two of them do meet in the park and are killed.
Oh. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
I think the audience has to vote on which one of them dies, actually, and one of them gets killed. I forget which one. And then there's another version. This is like, I guess, the happy ending where they meet in the park, and the audience actually votes to keep them both alive because Matthias tried to save Erica Dunn.
Okay. That's kind of nice.
And people like respected that he was ballsy enough to like steal the dude's money.
Yeah.
So that I was like, that's a nice ending.
That's a good ending. Very incongruous with how this whole franchise is going, but still lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of brilliant. And so apparently the director actually first released the trailer for this movie on the dark web.
I mean, that's dangerous, but okay. Sure.
Listen, like you said, the dark web is 98% of the internet. So a lot of it is fairly innocuous. Like, it's just people sharing their weird animated porn or you know, people who don't necessarily want to be on search engines or want some privacy or whatever. Like, I think a lot of the dark web is fairly innocuous. It's just that the dark parts are really dark.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I think that's fair. And then he immediately deleted that and threw his computer into a fire, and he was fine afterwards. I think that's a good marketing scheme, though, because, I mean, I would, if I was on the dark web and I saw this trailer come up, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm going to see this. This is awesome.
Oh, they're scared of us. Me, who just wants to pirate videos in peace.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man. Let's go through it again. So what was your favorite part and what was the most tense part for you?
I think for me, well, at least for me, like, the hardest part to watch was all of those different, like, when they're scrolling through the different, like, snuff films. Because I mean, they don't show anything bad happening, but the implications are very much there. And I mean, the one where, like, the girl's trying to reach the soda can and you see that the video file is like hours and hours long, and like like, I don't know why, that's like some deep fear shit for me.
Yeah, I get that because it's the implication. It's like you were saying with the last one, it's what's unknown.
I think maybe my favorite bit in terms of, like, the acting and stuff was where Matthias is trying to convince them that he made it up and it was just a game. And I think the acting from all of the actors were like, you know, they're just going through all these stages of, like, wait, but, like, relieved because they didn't want to believe it was real, but also, like, why the fuck would you do that? And then the one friend is, like, stoked, you know, he's like, oh, you did this so well. And I thought that was just, like, really beautifully written and just so well done by the actors.
It's fantastic to see that just from a point of view of, like, okay, how is this gonna proceed? How are we gonna do all of this? And I mean, and I think I'll piggyback off that for, like, my most tense bit was that whole bit where Amaya is going through the train station and the signal drops and they're, like, chatting to each other really, really quickly about how they're gonna solve this issue, and then, like, it comes back on and they've got to, like, pretend that they're playing a game.
Cards Against Humanity.
Brilliant. That
so
was
good.
So well done. And then my most tense moment was when they find Emma Dunn again, or Sarah Dunn.
Erica.
And she's got Erica Dunn. Third time.
That's okay.
And she's got the hole in her head and it pops out. And I was just like, it was so gross and brilliant and excellent bit. That was
and
really,
I think
really
that was
cool.
really the only super gory part in that whole movie, and that was what was kind of cool about this movie, was, like, it was so tense and so, like, viscerally scary, and there was hardly a single drop of blood.
It's cool. It's everything is implied in this movie, which makes it so much cooler than it is actually an incredibly nuanced film that I think it does take, like, 1 or 2 viewings to actually fully appreciate how it's done. But damn, so cool. So cool. Scene that could have saved it?
No.
No,
I would have liked it if nobody died, because they really make you like all of the characters. Like, you really love all of them and feel for them, and then they just start dropping like flies and it's terrifying, and you're like, oh no. I don't like this. They don't deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the difference between this one and the last one, is because, like, the first one, you're just like, I know you're all teenagers and all teenagers are assholes, but you guys are assholes and I can't be dealing with you. Yeah. So, like, I didn't, like, I cared that they died, especially, like, Mitch. That sucked. Mitch did nothing wrong.
That poor guy.
That poor guy. He's the only one out of all of them that I actually felt sorry for. But like you said, in this one, I mean, poor Amaya. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, why? And then not Mitch,
Matthias.
Mateus. Oh, he was just trying to do something
was trying
nice
to
for his
help.
girlfriend. Shit,
And especially
guys,
because they were
no.
all like, no, when they were trying to chat through it really quick, and they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with this. Just give the laptop back. And he's like, guys, we have to help Erica. And everybody stops and they're like, he's absolutely right. Like, we have to do something. Which, like, what angels?
Yeah, and then they all die, and
Yeah.
we're all.
And I think, like, what also makes it scary is they're trying to fight it the whole time, right? Like, they're trying to help each other and they're trying to do the right thing and win. And you think that
Yeah.
it's close, and then you realize, like, they never stood a chance.
No.
It was all orchestrated from the beginning. Nothing they did mattered. Is
Yeah.
harrowing.
Yeah, it's you're holding your breath the whole film, and you're so tense. And then you
I
just
remember
see...
watching it, and I was literally on the edge of my seat the first time I watched it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
your whole body is just rigid.
Yeah, it's such a cool franchise.
Yeah.
I'm very excited if they decide to make a third one. I'm excited to see what they do with it. It would be very cool if they did like something with cell phones. Like if they did like everyone's like chatting from like WhatsApp video or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that would be pretty cool. I could
Especially
get
like
behind that.
the pandemic is a nice ripe
Yeah.
fruit for them to pick.
Well, I've heard someone's made a Zoom horror movie.
Yes.
I'll try and let me see if I can find the
I
name
forget what it's called, but I
quickly.
really want to check it out, actually.
Yeah, me too. Horror movie. It's not called Zoo, and that came out 2 years ago. Zoom-based horror movie. Which is available. Found footage.
Oh, it's called Found Footage.
Yeah. And
Nice.
it's only available on Shudder. But yeah, it's called Found Footage. I'm dying to watch it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
we'll check it out.
Definitely check that out. But yeah, like, and would you watch it again?
Totally. Like, it's such a great example of working, like leaning into a medium, really thinking all the way through of what's scary about this medium. And again, all the implied horror, that's the kind of horror I like. Neither of us are big like gore people or like violence people. So I liked like the fact that they implied all this really horrible shit, and I didn't have to watch it, but I was still really scared.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, and why I completely agree with you, just as a cultural podcast, like absolutely would 100% watch this again and definitely recommend it to people. I mean, I was very sort of adverse to it at first, but guys, converted. Watch this. But what I particularly like thought this one did really well that the last one maybe missed a trick or just didn't have the capacity to do it was the sounds. When they were erase the messages or send the messages in this one, and it's that like, you know, minor sounds of like boom, and it's like distorted and shit. Very cool.
Very, very cool.
Very, very beautiful touch. I think it's like with both of these films, it's just the little touches that just bring it into,
I mean, final thing that I wanted to say was at the very end, once you realize like it was all an orchestrated thing and all of the different Charons are like showing their faces to the camera and they're all just normal looking people. Like there's nothing sinister or creepy about them. They're just normal looking men and women who recently had a great time.
Yeah, and I think that's the scariest thing about the dark web and the internet is
and
the anonymity of it and the world. Yeah, you could be sitting someone next to someone on the train who loves to murder people or watch people get murdered. Like that's their vibe. You'll never ever know. So
be kind to everyone.
Yeah, because you might get a hole in your head, which not ideal. Not if you want. For all of our listeners, Simone just rubbed her head in fear.
How much would you scream right now if like I had set up gore effects to like have a chunk fall out of my head?
Simone, I would drop to the floor faster than a hot potato. I would just be...
I really regret not doing it.
We had so many plans for this episode in particular. It's just all gone to shit, but it's fine. Well, guys, that was really fun. Thank you, Simone,
Yeah.
for that wonderful present. I really do appreciate it. It was
so very
great
welcome.
to just have a little palette cleanser as we go into the rest of Halloween. It's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
So, on that note, what are we doing next week?
You guys. We have such a fun guest lined up for you next week. It is Miss Confessa Murder. She has got an amazing outfit planned. So if you don't watch the YouTube videos normally, like next week would be the time to watch. She's incredible. She has been managing the writing competition that I did. So she is well versed in the horror genre and just a wonderful, fantastic, funny person. And you guys are going to love her.
It's gonna be so good, you guys. I'm so excited. I love the fact that we've got these great guests on this podcast, and it's just gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be a time.
It's gonna be so good. And what we'll do as well is we'll link to her like socials or Instagram or like her website or whatever in the link, so you can kind of familiarize yourself with her stuff. In light of next week's episode, it will be your homework as we're going through. And what movies are we doing next week?
We're actually doing pretty like good movies, like movies that for me I feel could have done better. We're doing In the Tall Grass.
Okay.
It actually got less than 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at the rating. And we are doing Sam Raimi's most recent remake of The Grudge.
Interesting. Okay. I haven't seen either of these, so I'm completely in the dark and I'm very excited. Sam Raimi, known famously for the director of the original Spider-Mans with our beautiful god man, Tobey Maguire.
And he directed The Evil Dead, which was a massive part of the horror genre and like a founding keystone of it. Huge director. So that will be really exciting. And then to discuss it with Confessa Murder is going to be awesome. Off the charts. Yeah,
so
she's fantastic. You guys are going to love her.
Oh, it's going to be so good. So what is your optimistic thing? Just to round us off, let's tie a nice little bow on this one.
I mean, my optimistic thing has to be both of my parents have had back surgeries in the last couple weeks. Unrelated. I've just apparently got really bad back genes waiting for me in my old age.
Like a German shepherd.
Yeah, exactly. My hip dysplasia and my spine. And both of them seem to be recovering really well. They've both pulled through, and just the fact that we live in a time where having problems like this isn't a death sentence, or doesn't mean that they're going to spend the rest of their lives not living to the fullest. Both of my parents are pretty active people, and it's really cool that they can get these operations to get like their quality of life back and be able to do whatever they want to do and spend time doing whatever they want with their kids. So that's my optimistic thing. Just wow, thanks Western medicine.
That's huge, and that's so great. And I mean, I'm so glad that both your parents are on the recovery and on the mend. I mean, you were telling me before we started the podcast that you had to treat your mom like a little toddler because she kept running around and stuff when she should have been recovering.
I mean, suffer from picking things up and grabbing things and.
So I mean, that is great, and I'm so glad that they're in recovery. And I'm sure I speak for all of our listeners where we send them all the best and I hope for a speedy recovery. All the good vibes.
And what's your optimistic thing?
Simone, I don't know where this has come from, but I have become a bakist in the recent past. I'm not going to call myself a baker yet. I wouldn't call myself a baker.
Okay.
But a bakist. So I decided this week for my lunches, because I batch cook my lunches, I decided I'd make pie. So I've made individual pies. Like I made 8 individual pies.
Wow.
I felt like I was on Bake Off. It was ridiculous. And then some friends of mine moved into my neighborhood. So I decided to make them a pumpkin pie because it's October.
I love a good pumpkin pie.
Oh, so good. And it was my first time making one, so I really hope it's good. And so, it's just out of nowhere. I've just been like, I'm going to bake some pie, and then I'm going to make some more pie, and I'm just going to do baking shit. And I made chocolate chip cookies during the week. And it's just been, I like cooking. I don't like baking, but I've apparently just decided to bake now.
Nice. Catch Chad on the next season of Great British Bake Off. I think you'd be great.
I would be so terrible. I would lose every challenge.
No, you'd be wonderful.
I'd be there for a week.
I mean, somebody has to be the first person to go. I don't think it would be you, but if that makes you feel better.
That was so good. That was so funny. I mean, you should host competition shows.
Just being a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, we can't all be winners, so.
So yeah, my optimistic thing is the fact that I've just taken up baking, and it's really stressful, but like seeing the end product has just been really, really fun. And yeah, my chocolate chip cookies were the bomb. So I'm happy
fantastic. Are you do you use dark chocolate chips, or what's your?
No, because this was my first time making them, I thought I'd just play it safe.
Nice milk chocolate.
Yeah, nice milk chocolate. Plus I'm a student again, so I'm very poor, so I had to just choose the cheapest chocolate. Which again, as a student, you shouldn't really be baking. It's a very expensive pastime.
Butter is not cheap.
No, it is not. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope that you're enjoying Spooktober so far.
Yes.
I promise you, it only gets better. This is a mountain that we're all going to climb together, and I am so unbelievably ready for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Spooktober. How's it going? I know Halloween's going to be way different now that we're all sort of in this weird, no government is exactly telling everyone what to do, and it's all a bit of a shit show. And I'm wondering if you listen to this podcast and you've got kids, what are you going to do with them? How is that going to work? Are you going to go around to people's places? What is your village or neighborhood doing? Tell us. And guys, thank you so much. Go listen to our past episodes. Go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, our website, all of those places, which Simone will now tell you the actual URLs and handles for.
You can talk to us on Facebook or Instagram at Fresh Tomatoes Podcast, on Twitter at Fresh Tomatoes MP. You can email us at freshtomatoespodcast@gmail.com. Our website is linked down below, as well as a bunch of links for our different sponsors that you've probably heard about in the different ads. Again, if you use the links below, guys, we get a little bit of a kickback. So, I mean, if you're looking for audiobooks anyway, or you're looking for games anyway, or you want a VPN, especially after this episode, put some tape over your webcam if you're not using it, you guys. Now's the time. Just click those links below, and like Chad said, we're also going to link to some resources around suicide. We also still have all of our Black Lives Matter resources too, if you want to still support the movement but you don't have money to donate. That's what those links are for.
There you go. And as we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Goodbye.
Bye.